Hey, this is Pastor Rema, and you are listening to Real Talk. Before you do another thing, I want you to go ahead and take this link, share it with 2 friends, and while you're at it, go ahead and follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Pastor Rema. Real issues for real people. Praise the Lord and God bless you. This is Pastor Rema. Thank you for joining in to Real Talk today. And I have with me a very special guest, none other than my own flesh and blood, Jahmila Duncan. She is a health professional and also works in the IT sector in the healthcare industry. Also, she is an avid fitness and clean eating advocate. And I'm so thankful to have her on the podcast. She's gonna speak with us and talk with us about some great things to help enrich our lives regarding our health, and even speak to some things regarding the context in which her career is in. And I'm so thankful to have you on, Jahmila. How you doing?
I'm well. How you doing, bro?
Doing great. Thank you for agreeing to do this.
Well, thank you for having me. The accolades in the beginning, I was like, wow, who is that? Me?
That's right. That's you. And I'm so thankful to be able to invite you on this platform. And, we were having a discussion several weeks ago, regarding just your journey with different things, and we'll get to it. But I think it'll be great to expose our listeners to some of those elements that you found successful for your goals. And I think you're going to be able to bless somebody. So let's get right to it. But first, before we get to business, I did say that you are my flesh and blood. You are my sister. And a lot of people don't know too much about my upbringings, but we are Jamaican by blood. Both of our parents are Jamaican, and we grew up Jamaican in New York City.
Yes, and every sense of the way.
That's right. It's different from being Jamaican and then migrating here, and then having to get acclimated to the culture, to the country, and different things. But we are first generation American. And what is some of your memories of growing up Jamaican in America?
Oh my gosh. You know what? The first thing that comes to mind in growing up in a Jamaican household, and when I say growing up in a Jamaican household, not that our parents were Jamaican, but the way they ran the household were pulled from their experience and their environment of growing up in Jamaica. So
Real talk.
Even though we were Americans, the biggest word that jumps out at me is discipline.
Yeah.
And that discipline is still with me, however many years later. And that is actually the foundation to so many areas in my life: discipline and resilience.
Resilience, discipline. And you know what? Those 2 words are definitely key to describing a Jamaican parent. His discipline and resilience speaks of strength. It speaks of structure and a measure of being rigid and enduring.
Yes.
And enduring. And we grew up definitely with that influence with our upbringing, and we didn't necessarily have the same house rules as other people that we grew up with in the neighborhood, and we definitely didn't see things in the same vantage point, the same lens as maybe our friends around the corner and different things. What are some other memories of our childhood that is kind of jumps out to you regarding living in America, living in New York City, but being Jamaican in a sense?
Anywhere you go, there, like if your parents or your family's from another country, everybody have an idea of how they act or how or what may go on, So, growing up, like, we going to American school, we got American friends, neighbors, and we were kind of confused because even though we were American, like there was things that was okay that our friends can do or our friends can act or our friends can act. And it wasn't acceptable in our household in terms of like talking back. In terms of like, Jamaican parents, they don't want to repeat themselves. So you better act like you heard, or if you wasn't sure what you heard, whatever you heard, you better hope that your actions next is making it right, because
that's right.
Back to discipline, some of the old world mentality that sometimes is reminiscent of like people who are from the South, like, children are to be heard and not seen and, have manners and things of that sort. And even though some of it may be from like a real, rigid background from, their childhood, it also sets the foundation of how we respect ourselves, respect others, and just have a level of confidence. So like, hey, can we go to the neighbor's house and sleep over? There will be no sleeping over. You'll be lucky if you visit. And, they don't care what Johnny and Sue is doing. This is what's happening in this household.
That's right.
Even though we didn't really like it growing up, but now when we look back, it taught us not to be uncomfortable with ourselves, not to be uncomfortable in spaces where we may be the minority, because we were the minority in a lot of the decisions that our parents make in hopes of keeping us safe and in hopes of not making us repeat some of the same mistakes that they have. So this was the best way they knew how to kind of do it. They're drawing from their experiences, just like how we draw from our experiences on how we're rearing our children and trying to make the best from that. Another thing that jumps out is that I noted was making do with what you have.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that also links into discipline. So, there's a lot of things you didn't have, but you had to be creative and you had to know how to stretch it, but you also had to know how to take care of it, because, it wasn't something that, can come often. We got what we needed. We had the bare necessities in terms of food, shelter, and things of that sort. But some of the things that we wanted, or maybe we still are, friends have, they may have a pair of Reeboks, but you getting a pair of Olympians, okay?
Yeah, real talk. Oh, man. Some of y'all listening to this don't even know what Olympians are. Come on now.
It looks like awesome. Reeboks. The ones with the two straps.
It's Weeboks.
Weeboks. There was a Weeboks, though. Yeah, but, we can laugh now, but we weren't laughing then.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but it taught us how to have discipline, how to have resilience. It all goes back to being humble and being grounded. So it really shaped, it could go either way. It could either shape someone to always want to go after the things that they never had at childhood to kind of make up for it, or it goes in the other direction where it teaches you how to make do with what you have. And struggle is not uncommon to you, but you know how to push through the struggle.
Yeah, most definitely. Definitely.
Growing up Jamaican in a rough neighborhood.
Yeah, and it is different. It is different.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a lot, we didn't have much, but we had our necessities, and we had, we had good, godly, upbringing.
Yeah.
And good parents, yes, and cared about us enough to make sure we had that structure. And big shout out to our mom for being a trooper, and raising 3 kids, as a single mom, and then having another one raising 4, and it's just a testimony to the resilience, like you said, of that Jamaican mindset, and we can go down the line of several successful Jamaican Americans, whether American born or migrated, and just it speaks to that determination, that passion, that drive, that will to display excellence in whatever we do.
And the culture is that your children should do better than you. So
absolutely,
by any means necessary, they're going to try to create those opportunities for you, but it's not going to be spoon-fed, because they want you to be able to survive when you skid your knee. So
absolutely, gotta survive. And so, growing up in that context, there's a lot of people that may feel certain atmospheres and environments has the odds stacked against people. But when you have, that structure and that example of resilience and determination, that's inspiring. And you may not have all the tools, from home, but it inspires you to recognize valuable tools, mindsets, and ways of thinking when you go to school or when you are around other people from different families, and you be able to pick up certain things and put that in your character toolbox and help develop yourself beyond what your own parents were able to equip you with. And I've seen that happen, at a large scale within our family, within other families. They don't even have to be Jamaican, other type of immigrants, whether of the Latino descent or, Asian or whatever. But, we do what we can with what we got, but we also are open, and we're aware and looking for different things that we can borrow from, to take it to the next level for this generation.
Right.
And I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for the ups and downs that we've seen as kids growing up in that environment, and I'm also grateful that my own flesh and blood are examples of victory from that, and examples of success out of a place where the odds were stacked up against us to be part of a certain statistic even.
Yeah.
And so it's just awesome. And so it's just seeing your journey, and we'll probably touch on your career context too, and seeing your journey and your determination to pursue your career. And I believe it was first in the health professions, correct?
Right. Actually, I don't know if you noticed, but initially I didn't want a career, or was seeking a career in healthcare. I actually, y'all don't laugh, all right? But only some people.
I already laughed for them.
Only some people are going to be able to relate to this, but I actually wanted to be an archaeologist.
Wow. You don't know how. I've got some friends that have said that. That is so random.
I actually wanted to be an archaeologist and travel the world and look for like history and artifacts. And that actually came from TV. That came from watching DuckTales. DuckTales was a cartoon where, the ducks would follow, their Uncle Scrooge, because their Uncle Scrooge was rich, but they would follow him along and look for like, riches and treasures and, learn history. And then I love action movies. So Indiana Jones is one of my favorite movies. And he used to go in search for, hidden treasures and lost sites and things of that sort. So that was always interesting to me. But then I realized quickly, because, you grow up and you get sense that it's nice that you want to be an archaeologist, but can that put food on the table?
Yep.
Is it consistent enough to want to, take care of your family or take care of yourself? So when I got to, by the time I got to college, I started out at Brooklyn College. I said, okay, I don't think that's going to work. But one other thing that I was interested in is being an obstetrician. So I felt like a career in medicine would work, for me. And Real Talk, because we're doing Real Talk with
that's right.
Rema, right?
That's right. Real Talk.
Real Talk. I would say I was pretty smart, coming out of high school. I had great grades, but when I hit college, like it started to make me doubt my intellect, because I wasn't doing as well in my classes that I hoped. And I was trying my best, so it was really confusing, because I did so well in high school. And then coming to college, you start to doubt and, wonder if you can make the cut or if you're even smart enough. Thankfully, not to, just go into being so spiritual, but I mean, it's the truth. By that time, I already have come to know the Lord. So just having the community of my church going to weekly, not once a week. I think we were there maybe like 2-3 times a week, but also having that support system helped me to not doubt myself. And when, the world, and when I say the world, like, people who don't know you, the public, the counselor at my college was telling me, you obviously don't do well in the sciences, so you need not to seek a career in the sciences,
Wow.
And and I was so down, and I didn't know where do I go from here, and this is what I want to do. And there was a sister at church, Peter Gay's mom, Sister Simpson.
Okay.
And she was a nurse. And she told me when I was talking to her, I don't even know how we started talking, but she told me, you can still deliver babies by being a midwife, and I said, well, how do you do that? And she said, you can go into nursing. So I said, okay, wow, never heard of it. So once again, it shows you, okay, you're not going to give up. Your heritage told you not to give up. One, there's nothing really to go back to. So you need to push through and find something. Right. And then I have the community of the church, where there's resources that can help shape and navigate you in other aspects of life. It's like another support system. Some people have like, they have clubs, or they go to not like clubs, like, where people dancing, but like, they belong to like certain like groups or clubs.
Yeah, interest groups and clubs,
right,
organizations.
That they find this. But we talking about back in like, 90. Yeah, I'm dating myself. I can't believe I even said that phrase just now. Back in 97,
predate the millennials, pre-millennials.
Before the 2000s, long story short, so I was already in school for like a year and a half. And so the choice was, okay, since I can go the route of delivering babies going through nursing, the school I'm in doesn't offer that, and would any other school like accept me? Because, I probably like didn't do well in 2 or 3 classes or whatever. And I had to trust God that, it's going to work out. And everybody said, you can't leave a 4-year college and go to a community college. It was kind of like a no-no, like you're going to look like a dum-dum, And I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay here and finish a degree that I'm not happy with? Or am I going to take the L to get a win later and go pursue what I really want to do? And I decided the latter, and I applied to go to a community college. And that's where, I did my nursing practice, my nursing education, and that's where it all started. And that wasn't easy either. I almost flunked out of nursing, and I really had to, so many levels in our life, we have to trust God, and we may, get, knocked down a lot of times, and we don't think that we can make the cut, but what's for you can't not reach you, especially when you're putting your trust in God. So, I always tell people like where I'm coming from, because I want to see them. So many times I was knocked to the ground, but I still got back up. And no matter where you are in life, there is no time lost. Like, your friends may have finished college before you, and you could do a double college degree for the amount of time you've been in school, but it doesn't matter how much time has passed. Whatever is for you, you're going to get it right on time, and there will be no time lost. You're not behind, just keep trusting and keep pushing through. And that comes from, my childhood too, of having that resilience, that discipline, to just keep going, and having a really good support system as well has really shaped my life up till today.
Incredible. And if I'm not mistaken, at different points, you felt you go even further with your education. And I think, you've got an MBA pending for the summer of 2021, which is incredible. It's awesome.
That's
Congratulations.
Spring. Let's not put that into another season.
Okay, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Yes,
the loading bar is further than we think.
Yes, pursuing an MBA with a specialization in project management, because throughout my nursing career, I did transition into clinical IT, meaning healthcare information technology, about 5 years ago. So I didn't want another clinical degree because I also do believe in going after things that you're passionate about. I don't care about the money. I don't care if, I can go do anesthesia and make way more money. I wouldn't be happy. So I'm very intentional about doing things that I love, and whatever I need will come from me continuing to do what I love with passion, with grace, and with grit.
That's right. That's awesome. Passion, grace, and grit. Y'all write that down right there. Passion, grace, and grit is in those slumps. You're gonna need to get a little gritty.
Yeah.
Get a little gruff to your voice. Drink some strong coffee, get some hair on your back, and punch your obstacle in the face. So we're gonna get this done. We're gonna make this
know
happen.
How to take a punch too.
Oh, hey.
You're gonna have to take some punches, but you gotta know how to take them punches and keep going.
That's right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and so, you are in clinical IT, and you were commissioned to serve, and I believe you were in Upper Manhattan. Is that right? New York Presbyterian Hospital.
Yes, that is the organization that I work for. Yes,
that's awesome. And so you were working and boots on the ground during the
height of the COVID pandemic in New York City.
Yes. And I'd like to, if you're comfortable with doing this, I'd like for you to kind of give us some thumbnails. You don't have to go into great detail or things that you cannot speak to regarding, because I don't want it to be portrayed that you're speaking in representation of the organization you work for, right? But as in another way to say this, as a civilian / contributor,
Yes.
what was your experience? Boots on the ground. We often hear that media embellishes things, and we see things on the news or media, and we tend to say, well, it wasn't that bad. They're just making it out.
Right.
But as someone that was in the thick of it, and New York got hit, was one of the cities that got hit the worst with it. So in your, real talk.
Yeah.
And what was your snapshot? Walk us through some of those emotions. Walk us through some of those highlights. Just some thumbnails of things that you had to encounter and endure and walk through, being a help in the midst of that chaos.
Right. Well, thank you for asking that, because, a lot of people don't actually ask. So they don't know what a healthcare worker deals with on a regular, normal basis. But with a pandemic that almost a good majority of the population in the world has never experienced, it's magnified for a healthcare worker, for an essential worker, for those people that have to be out in the public. I've been a nurse for about 16 years. You know my history. I started out in, rough hospital, but you learn some things, trauma hospital. And then, went to work in the city in critical care, working in the ICU, until about 5 years ago, where I moved from the bedside to more of like the corporate space.
Yeah.
This year, COVID was in New York City was nothing I could have ever imagined that I would witness in my nursing career.
Wow. And you're saying that within the context of working in critical care and ICU and trauma hospitals.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Because COVID blew out every experience and sector. You got to understand, like, even though I may have intensive care unit experience during COVID, it didn't matter who had or didn't have intensive care experience, sometimes known as critical care experience, because everybody had to grasp on the basics of saving lives with what you got. I think the only group of people or essential, or people in terms of in their careers that can relate to this are those who are in the armed services, because it felt like I moved to, like I was on a battleground, like I was in the middle of a war, and I wasn't even as thick in it as those who were. This is their everyday, they're still doing patient care. Remember, I was out of patient care for a couple of years. So that alone had another level of experience, had another level of anxiety I had to work through. I called it like looking at COVID from the outside in. So from the outside, before I was redeployed back into the hospital, from the outside, I call myself a social introvert. I could be in the house and be totally fine, but it's different when now you have to intentionally be in the house, not because you want to, but because you have to. When I got called back to the bedside to prepare myself, I had to get into prayer. I had to get my spirit right. I had to get my mind right. I already was always working on my wellness, but I was trying to make sure that I'm focused and intentional of beefing up my nutrition, my immunity, just giving myself the best odds and opportunity to go in and serve with no hesitation, but also protect myself. Because nursing changed. Like, you're not going in, normally you jumping in the room. Well, what can I do? What can I do? Now the thought process, and thankful that I have friends that were still working, in hospitals that were like heavily hit, where she said, hey, not that I'm jumping in and I'm doing, you need to think first before you jump. So there's a lot of thought that goes into caring for patients and caring for yourself with this disease. I've seen the very young not make it and the very old make it. I don't think this disease is any respecter of person. No respecter of class, no respecter of background. You hear the stories of, how many, how healthy people were, and because I live in, New York City, a lot of people who don't live in New York or the surrounding areas, they really don't understand the impact of how this actually looked. It looked like some movie from like Armageddon or whatever. The streets were empty. I'm serious. The streets were empty. Like, we're walking around with like PPE, just to like take a breath. Outside of the hospital to eat something or to just drink something and refresh yourselves. You're going into spaces that normally have a certain number of patients, and there's 3 times as much patients. Another thing, my organization did a very good job of taking care of us and taking care of patients and making sure we have what we needed to do so. And I know a lot of organizations, some of them have struggled to be able to provide that level to their staff and patients due to, whatever reasons. But what's real is that it took on a psychological toll to go in each shift. And, even while I thank God I was working with another coworker from IT, because we kind of kept each other sane, because if I'm in a room with a patient and then I see fog in my glasses, I was like, wait a minute, if I see fog, that means there's a break. That means it's coming in, and I have to deep breathe and I have to focus on what I'm doing and then get out, so then you start to have that worry, like, hey, am I exposing myself? And you start to doubt so many things that you didn't really think that much about before, but you have to take extra precaution when you're in this area. And then, also coming in, you saw, okay, you're going to this patient, you're doing this, you're doing that. And then the next time you come in, that room is empty because overnight that patient has gone on. You know what I mean? And, people didn't really understand the amount of people that were losing their lives. Like, when you think of these hospitals, yes, they have areas that are cornered off for when, someone has passed on and, until like maybe a funeral home can come and get them, or the family, makes whatever arrangements. But the rate at which people were losing their lives, hospitals had to have refrigerated trucks to
have mercy.
Keep these bodies, because there's a level of respect that we have for the dead, so we still need to be able to preserve and to care for them, even in their death, on where they are and things of that sort. But there was not enough room in hospitals, not just talking for my organization. Almost every hospital in New York needed that extra space. That's how COVID looked for us. It may not have looked like that in other states by the time it went down, but they have to understand how many people were dying a day.
Wow.
So, that's a nervous laugh. That was at the end, but it was nothing that I've ever experienced. And Rema, let me tell you, I don't even know if I spoke to you like about this. Like, when I wasn't on redeployment anymore, I didn't feel the same mentally. Like, I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to come out of bed. I needed to get back to myself. I needed to find a way of how to look at life now, since being exposed to life as a vapor, Yeah,
fragile.
Very fragile. So I'm not saying, you walk around in fear, but at the same time, you take precautions and you understand that there are so many people that have been impacted by this terrible, disease, and you don't want to take it lightly, but you also want to respect the workers that are out there that are continuing maybe to get your groceries, to get that supply chain to continue to move so you can buy milk, so you can buy this and buy that. People have to be out in the public to do so. And, those who are not respecting, just protecting themselves and others, I implore you, COVID is still alive, and, our healthcare workers are still checking in day out. When I was there were people that never took a day off since it hit. So, and I got in about 45 days after the first cases were really popping up. And there are providers that never took a day off. They just kept going, so you have to understand that, healthcare workers, they have a different kind of brain. It moves into overdrive and they think of themselves last, so, please, give a high five to your healthcare workers, your essential workers, those who are running the trains, those who are running transportations, those who are doing food deliveries and services. I'm telling you, they all are the heroes.
Yeah, MVPs.
Yes,
MVPs right there.
Yeah.
What an incredible viewpoint to be able to come out on the other side of being at ground zero, if you will, and seeing the process to mitigate everything that was going on. And like you talk about high fives to you, fives to you for availing yourself to help and to be selfless. And yes, I always sense that a level of selflessness with healthcare workers. And sometimes we don't give it enough credit, but it's such an underpraised and underappreciated vocation. And to all our healthcare workers and health professionals, whether you work throughout the pandemic or not, you are appreciated. I want to take this time to say you are appreciated. And if you have somebody in your family that is an essential worker or a healthcare worker, do something nice for them and just say, you matter. Just tell them you matter. You matter. What you do matter. Everything that you do matters to our society.
Yes. But there's a lot of good that came out of it, though. Because
absolutely.
In the hospital, the tone was different. People appreciated each other more. There was a lot of thank yous. People were so grateful for even us coming out of, IT to maybe not doing everything they're doing because, legally, you need to be able to provide certain things, but they were all thankful for the extra hands, for the extra help. You're thankful to those who are picking up the garbage, delivering the supplies, providing the food. Every single person was so essential. And, we were just thankful. So that's the one thing I appreciated, that there was just it almost felt like God's love, was just everywhere. Everyone was being nice to each other. Everyone was being kind for the most part. It just transformed you, and I'm hoping that, people don't forget, how we wasn't sure what tomorrow may bring, but remembering to just be kind to one another and courteous, because tomorrow is not promised to any one of us.
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, I'm thankful that you were willing to share that. And definitely it's something that many people need to hear and be exposed to, be aware of. We're going to take a little pivot here, though, a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of get a little bit more lighthearted in our conversation.
All right.
But you have been on a journey for a couple of years. I don't want to get the timing mixed up, but you've been on this clean eating, in particular keto. Am I right?
Yes, ketogenic
lifestyle. Even began to create an Instagram account around that. Mila_fit and fabulous. If you're not following that, go follow that right now.
Yeah.
Awesome recipes.
And
there's a lot of
fabulous.
people. Fit and fabulous. And there's a lot of people doing the low carb or ketogenic lifestyle.
Right.
And I can't say enough how much information is needed. And you got big box stores that are really shifting the way they present their products to accommodate the demand, because so many people are gravitating towards this way of living, this way of eating and taking care of themselves. But tell us about your journey with keto, that fit and fabulous journey, and give us some highlights of what that's done for you.
Okay. Well, as you know, you're my brother. I've always been on a wellness journey,
That's
journey to like fitness, always. I was very active in high school. I ran track, I was a sprinter, and then as you age, you realize every year there's a certain amount of pounds that just stay, it doesn't go anywhere, and then, I found myself that the last time I lost weight as an adult, because I wasn't happy with, my weight. And it felt like whatever I was doing when I was in high school didn't really work, in like 2011 or so. And 2011, I made the decision, hey, I'm gonna try to get this right, and I started to lose weight, get healthier. And that was the first time as an adult, I was able to move from obesity to active, healthy. The following year, 2012, I was just hype. I was at the height of my fitness, had a routine going. And then I got a hernia, and then, having that repaired was eventually the decline of me being active, because you had to protect the surgical area. Right. And it never felt the same, so, and I was traveling, during those years. So I was always active. And then, within 3 years, I gained the weight back slowly, I'm not happy with how I feel, not happy with how my knees are, so I'm trying my best to find, something that works, because whatever I did before, just a few years earlier, is not working. So what I realized is that as we age, our bodies change and it adapts. And the things that may have worked in the past may not be the things that our body need to connect to and transform, so I guess the first step is learning your body. So I had to, I did these different fitness challenges, and each one left me feeling like I was deprived. I was going towards this goal of, I got to eat like this right now. And then it could be adjusted, and then I'll feel good. And then when the plan didn't say to adjust anything, it's continue this way. I'm like, this is not a lifestyle I can upkeep, and I wanted something that I can maintain that didn't feel like I was on a diet, because I never believed in diets, but I wanted something that was practical. Yes. And one of my friends she mentioned it in 2017, but I was already like trying something else out. And I'm somebody that like to let me work this and see how I respond to this before I try something else. Because one thing I can say, all of these experiences have added to how I walk this ketogenic walk today. So in 2018, my friend Alicia was like, hey, you thought about doing keto? And I'm like, what's keto? It just sounded hard, and I'm a nurse, and prior to that, I was vegan for like a year. So, and I'm saying keto sounds hard, so when I looked it up, I said, okay, I was just nervous because, you want something that works, but you don't want something that make you feel like deprived. I didn't want anything that was going to take more emotional work to do. I wanted something that I can learn and kind of enjoy the process. So, 2018, you know what day I started? July 4th.
How about that?
Independent. I chose a good day. Independence Day. This is when I'm going to stop eating
cookout for you.
Ketogenic. Right. No cookout. So ketogenic living is a method of eating that lowers your carbohydrate intake, and it removes sugar from your diet. So that way you can lower they call it your glycemic index. Mm-hmm. So that is the number that kind of like messes with when your insulin, your body gets triggered to kind of like get rid of all that sugar that you're eating. And a lot of people, they're misinformed. They think, I don't really use sugar. They're thinking about the sugar that they add to things, but there's sugars in processed foods, high carbs and things of that sort that a lot of studies have linked insulin resistance. That's when pretty much your insulin reserves are tired, so you're resistant to insulin and it's not taking care of the sugars, which is called the glucose in your body. So then you start to get ailments like inflammation, which is caused by sugar. That's also linked to high blood pressure, arthritis, diabetes. There's so many diseases that are linked to high sugar and high carb eating habits. So, and I'm a nurse, and I really didn't learn this in school of how it was all connected. So I actually started learning nursing from my perspective through my body. What my body was doing was challenging what I learned in school. And some of the information, it could be dated, but now you're having the experience and you're like, no, this is good. Like I eat brown rice, I eat this, I eat these grains, but all of those also are high in carbs. So when it's not being utilized, it's broken down and it's just sugar. So it's going to have the same effect, although the grains may be healthier than you eating like white starch or processed food.
Hold on, anyway. Pause. Hold on. See, you're saying some things right here. And for those of you that's never really dived in to what this is all about and what keto is all about and knowing some of these elements, some of you are hearing this like, yeah, I don't put sugar in stuff. I don't use sugar like that. But she said some really key things here that it's not necessarily about the sugar you add to your food. There are already pre-existing sugars in a lot of the foods we currently eat in our culture and enjoy. And I'll just say in an American society, I'll speak to this society, there is a lot of foods that have pre-existing sweeteners and sugars, and they don't necessarily have to be added to the product, but they are inherent in the product. And when you buy it, you think it's healthy. Like she mentioned, brown rice. Some of you thinking like that, man, I don't even want to go near that. That sounds too healthy. But even something like that can trigger an adverse effect to the insulin um, working how it's supposed to in your body to mitigate the glucose or the sugars in your
bloodstream.
Bloodstream. So this is really key information for a lot of people. And even if you don't want to do the keto lifestyle, you need to know some of this stuff because some of you don't necessarily want to do keto, but there's tons of people that have insulin issues or diabetic or pre-diabetic or high blood pressure, like you said. So y'all need to listen up, perk up here, grab a pen and pad or open up your notepad app and jot down some notes here. And
keto may not be for you.
Yeah, but
you can learn some things that can help you institute it into the lifestyle that you do have. And let me tell you something. You know, when I knew I wasn't going back, initially I felt different. So when your body is now moving from using glucose, which is sugar, as your main source of energy, and now it's going to be using ketones, that's where the keto and ketogenic come from, because you are lowering the amount of carbs that you're ingesting to a very small amount, but you're upping how much healthy fats you're eating and a moderate amount of protein. Your body now moves. Your body's a machine. So now it's moving from using glucose as the fuel to run it to now using fat as the fuel to run it, because that can be converted to energy as well. So that's why you see a lot of success on the ketogenic diet, because you're using the fat you already have to burn energy. And so a lot of people notice, oh, my stomach has gone down, because we carry a lot of our fat in our stomach, and you still can eat some of the tasty foods that you're eating, but you just have to be a little bit creative in terms of how you're preparing it. And I always say, when people ask me about keto, I said, you got to know your why you want to do it. Because people, there's a lot of different paths that people take to kind of practice a ketogenic lifestyle. And I'm not saying any are wrong, but it has to align with your why. My why was that I had a cyst on my ovary, and my gynecologist told me that if you can lose some weight, that can help get rid of that cyst and regulate some of the things that I see brewing here, and it was all connected to my weight. So you'll hear women say, I have PCOS, that's polycystic ovarian syndrome, where sometimes it can make you infertile. Sometimes it gives you a lot of acne. Sometimes it gives you indigestion. Sometimes it discolors your skin. There's so many things that are related to it. And I joined a Facebook group, and a lot of the women that were looking to have children, once they start to regulate the amount of sugar that they were consuming, they were able to get pregnant and have babies. So, and that's just one of the things, but for me, I had mental clarity. Like my mental clarity was I was so focused, and I said, whoa, I feel good. I just feel good. I don't know how to explain it. Like people
clean energy.
People who used to annoy me don't annoy me no more. I have a lot of tolerance. I have a lot more tolerance. It helps with depression, because you don't realize sugars and high carbs, they add to depressive states. They add to feelings of labile. It's just not good for us. Our bodies just want to run a little bit cleaner, clean fuel. That's like you trying to put regular in your luxury vehicle when you really should be using premium. It ain't going to run like it's supposed to. Eventually it's going to have so many deposits, it's going to slow down. Yeah, you got to move from fossil fuels to something clear and sustainable. Yeah, but that's it for the little science lesson. But, to make a long story short, my experience with the ketogenic living, I didn't lose a lot of scale weight. And you're going to start to learn your body and know that the scale don't really tell the story. I lost more inches than scale weight. So even when I really wasn't seeing the numbers that other people see every week in terms of what they were losing, once I stayed consistent. That is my favorite word on this journey. Consistency would take you there. Once you stay consistent, you saw the effects. You saw how you were changing, and people who doubted you, they don't doubt you no more.
Yeah.
Okay? And 2.5 years later, I'm still maintaining and busting out. My scale weight is higher than it was a year ago, but I'm smaller than I was a year ago. So,
isn't that something? Isn't that something? And it forces you to change the way you view those things.
And the narrative that the public wants to give you about health.
Yeah.
You have to learn your body and find what works for you. That's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so you don't have to tell us, a number of where you're at or where you were, but in total, what do you think you've lost, or in terms of pounds or inches?
Oh, I don't mind. I started out at 214 pounds and I'm about 5'6". So, I just look plump, like as Jamaicans would say, healthy, or they say champion, right? Yeah. So I moved from champion to the ones fighting in the Coliseum, so I went from like about 214 pounds to the lowest scale weight that I've clocked is like about 166 or 67. So I lost almost 50 pounds.
Yeah, that is, hold on. I wish I had some background crowd noise. That is awesome. Come on. That is incredible.
But if you want to think about it in terms of like inches, I went from a size 16 pants and I can wear a size 6 to 6'8" pants. And I've been able to do that within like 2 years, and it's been 2.5 years.
So you almost lost, you lost almost 50 pounds, and you went from a size 16 to roughly a size 6.
Yes.
And that's over 30 months, 2.5 years.
Yeah, actually, I got there way before. I got there maybe like after 1.5 years. But
wow.
Yeah. But now, because I've been wearing pretty much like an 8 for like a year, but my 8s fit differently because I'm building more muscle. So it's all about the frame. And really the picture of health is not the scale numbers, but your body fat, your body mass index, your muscle percentage, how much water you're drinking. It's not I'm big boned, that's why. Yeah. Build that muscle and be consistent about it. And my biggest phrase that I love is your race, your pace. You're not in a competition with nobody,
You hear that?
So you just,
real talk.
Yeah, your race, your pace. Just be consistent and everything else will follow. You will outlast everyone else that's sprinting. Tortoise and the hare.
Right. That's right. Only person you need to outdo is yourself.
That's it. And don't even be too hard on yourself. Allow yourself the grace. Remember, this is a lifestyle, and know that you're finding a fit that's going to work for you to maintain a level of health that's going to take you into old age.
Incredible. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And
You're
again,
welcome.
if you didn't get that Instagram handle, that was MILA_fit and fabulous for it. So is it fit and fabulous, or fit with an N and then fabulous?
It's fit with an N and fabulous.
All right. And be on the lookout. Little teaser alert here. And this will be a little fire under the wire to get it done. But y'all be on the lookout as you're following that page for a Keto Ebook cookbook that she mentioned that you're preparing. So I think if something like that were available, I think a lot of people would definitely benefit from that. And you would know what I'm talking about if you scroll through the account and see some of the dishes that she makes and the recipes and the products that she uses. I think that'll be awesome.
I'm so passionate about it. Like I want to demystify, eating this way. Like I'm big on making things practical. So something that looks difficult, I want to show you, I could remix this and make it sugar-free and low carb and taste good. So, we're Jamaican, so, we like our provision and stuff. So, but it's really a mindset. So you just have to change your mind and adjust. But if we can maintain the same flavor and still be able to like eat a good, diet, then we will be more inclined to be consistent and to stay with it. I mean, yeah. I don't know if you were thinking about mentioning this, but I'm gonna just bring it up because we are keeping it real, right?
Real talk.
You tried ketogenic diet, and how was it for you? How was your experience?
I tried it pretty much. I mean, I've heard a lot of people doing it, and when I saw the impact it made on your journey and your life, mm-hmm. and my wife and I, we both decided to jump in and give it a try. And within the first 6 months of doing it, I chopped down about 20 pounds. And another kicker that was pushing me towards this was just having some, my doctor look like your doctor look at you and say, I can have less things to say to you and about you if you just take care of this work right here. And you probably want to lose a little bit off those edges right there. So so I had to trim the fat. I had to clean it up, and keto was definitely something that helped me. I mean, I tried getting into running, which off and on I'll get back into that. But what really showed the results with the great feeling, and it didn't have to be a chore, mm-hmm. Was a ketogenic diet and lifestyle. I remember one time I used to see a chiropractor, and my doctor said to me, he's like, so you doing keto? I was like, yeah, I'm into keto. He's like, so what you eating for breakfast tomorrow? and I said, well, I'm gonna have an egg. I'll have some avocado and maybe a couple pieces of bacon. And he's like, good, this is for you. And I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, he said, because if you have to wonder what you're going to eat, you're not going to last.
Wow.
He said it has to come natural. It has to be something that is like second nature. You don't have to think too hard to live, to eat, to do whatever. And, if you go to a restaurant, you don't have to think too hard. Like, well, what am I going to order and all this stuff? He said, if you can do that and let it become second nature, that's something that will last in your life.
Right. And you know what else? Oh, sorry.
No, I was done. But that really resonated with me. And I was like, mm-hmm. You know what? That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
It does. And what helped me, because if he would have asked me that question when I first started, I would have been stuttering. But because I didn't want that anxiety of what I was going to eat, you probably hear like a lot of people pair fasting. They call it intermittent fasting with ketogenic living. So I just started out the gate intermittent fasting. So I was fasting 16 hours, that includes the time that I'm sleeping. So I had less decisions to make of what I was going to eat. And that actually propelled and helped me for the most part, I eat one meal a day for the most part now, because that's all I feel like I need. I mean, now that I started like running, my carb needs are higher, but I fuel that because I'm listening to my body. But intermittent fasting is also key. Even if you don't want to start out like, removing any foods, but cutting off your eating at, let's say, 8:00. And, let's say you're not going to put nothing else in your mouth until 10:00. That gives your body time to break down the sugars of the foods that you've eaten. And then it puts it in a fasting state. So that way you could develop, I forgot what it's called, but develop more chemicals that can help you age better and fight disease, and things of that sort, because the human body actually can live without food for even 3 days and just hydration, so that's another thing you can consider And, for us who are Christians, we fast.
Right.
Sometimes we struggle with the fast too, but I'm telling you, like, the intermittent fasting is key. Even people who maybe was following ketogenic living before and maybe have stopped, or they moved on to something that kind of fits their lifestyle. Everyone always speaks highly of intermittent fasting because it actually gives you one of our keywords today, discipline. And if you have that discipline, your body will develop resilience.
All right. That's incredible. And that is awesome. An awesome way to kind of bring this to a tail end here. Yeah. And, if there was two things that you would need to take away from, this lifestyle of clean eating or cleaner eating, and, just making sure your body is operating at full capacity, that resilience and that structure is definitely, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's working at a faster pace or not, but the consistency of it and just sticking to it, and no quick fixes, just grind it out and have some grit.
And grace. Don't forget about the grace.
Grit and grace. That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for being on the call today. And I really feel like you shared some wonderful elements of your health journey, and also your experiences in this whole 2020 whirlwind that we've been all in. And thank you so much for being transparent and sharing with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thank you for listening and tuning in today. Help me to get the word out about this content. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Pastor Rema. And why don't you go ahead and follow and subscribe these podcasts so that you can be notified when we upload fresh content. God bless you, and keep it real.